Hello and welcome to Ala-Too 24 studio. My name is Mirlan Aitali. This is our first program in English language, and we decided to dedicate it and talk about investments, including foreign investments in Kyrgyzstan. Our guest in studio is Mr. Yumbriel Temiraliyev, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Investment, Promotion and Protection. Mr. Temiraliyev, hello and welcome to our studio. As we all know, on the 5th of May, a new version of Constitution was signed by President Sadir Japarov, and the whole structure of the government was changed. And now it's called Cabinet of Ministers, consisting from 12 ministers. And one of them is where you work, Mr. Temiraliyev, Ministry of Investment, Promotion and Protection. Prior to 5th of May, it used to be called as an agency. And first of all, talk us through what's the main purpose of raising the status of the state agency to the level of minister.
As you've fairly mentioned, the ministry used to be at the status of agency under the Ministry of Economy. And the president decided to shift the status up to the ministry so that the ministry is empowered with more instruments in promoting, in raising capital to Kyrgyzstan, as well as in protecting those entrepreneurs and institutional investors that have decided to invest in Kyrgyzstan. Basically, the ministry has become a member of the Cabinet of Ministers, which means that in daily operations or in daily work of the ministry, it can easily communicate and effectively lobby and liaise between entrepreneurs and the ministries. Since it will become the vis-a-vis of other ministries, and all recommendations that the ministry issues towards other governing bodies, the either agencies or standalone ministries will be quite more effective. As you understand, whenever entrepreneur or a potential investor comes into Kyrgyzstan, it has to deal with a lot of regulations, specific regulations that could be in terms of licensing, or that could be in dealing with the tax inspection and tax services, or that could be with other governing bodies that assign specifically to control specific activities. So in this regard, the ministry is becoming a one-shop place where potential entrepreneurs and institutional investors can come, and our ministry is ready and will be happy to guide through all the processes until the transaction is completed and any factory or plant starts working successfully.
You mentioned about the shop. Where it's going to be located? Any idea so far?
The ministry is located on Razakova Street 8/1. And we have a staff, and that staff will be growing since we will be in charge of developing policies both on investment and the private-public partnership, as well as executing transactions regarding the management of state property and private PPPs, as well as direct investments and the direct contracts between the government of Kyrgyzstan and private entities from foreign countries.
And what's the status of the condition of the investments and calling investors to come and invest into Kyrgyzstan market?
Well, Kyrgyzstan clearly understands that it's in a high competition among frontier markets in trying to raise capital to Kyrgyzstan and promoting foreign investments. In this regard, we see clear competitive advantages of Kyrgyzstan for any country that would be interested in entering the Central Asian region, as well as Eurasian Union, which combines and unites Kazakhstan and Russia as well, due to following things. First of all, we have the cheapest labor available in the market. The electricity cost is the cheapest in Kyrgyzstan. Taxation is the most liberal, and I think we have the lowest tax rates compared to Russia, Kazakhstan, and all other neighboring Central Asian countries, as well as very liberal legislation on moving the capital in and out of Kyrgyzstan without any permissions, and easily extracting dividends from the country as well. In terms of launching legal vehicles, Kyrgyzstan has very competitive standing among other states as well. And I think there are numerous things that come with other legislations, but we can talk about further on. I will more elaborate on the areas or the industries where Kyrgyzstan could be of interest, but these are the general rules where we can be competitive compared to our neighboring countries.
Before, it used to be some rumors in our market in Kyrgyzstan when, for example, one person from abroad, foreign investor, who wants to invest into Kyrgyzstan, and he comes and starts dialogue between people from the power. And from Kyrgyzstan side, there were some incidents or facts where they were asking some bribes. Do you know how further we stepped on that particular subject?
In terms of this is the subject of protecting investments. In protection side of investments, basically I would say licensing between the government bodies and the private sectors. Our job would be divided in two things: disputes between the private parties when they argue with each other, and we try to help them bypass the court procedures by providing services of licensing or arbitraging them informally. When it comes to state versus private companies, then we always take the side of a private company, and we try to defend the company on all ministries along the way. And sometimes ministries act very aggressive. Sometimes ministries are very stubborn in making decisions, not because they want to harm the investment, but because their functionals and their liabilities and their obligations have been written in that direction under some governing law of that ministry. And since those guys or those people in ministries or other agencies don't see the entire picture, they look at things and very short-sighted. And when it comes to short-sighted approach to business, or approach to daily activities, they incline to say no rather than to say yes. So this is where we step in, and we try to explain all government agencies and ministries that we are working on large transactions or small transactions, but whatever the size of the transaction is, we need any type of foreign investment that should come into Kyrgyzstan, and we need to ensure that any investor that invests in Kyrgyzstan will be granted stability and will be granted assurance of private property.
How exactly the ministry help? How does the ministry help to attract, to raise the investments from abroad? First,
we work very closely with the private communities, with business associations and companies in Kyrgyzstan, helping them, trying to choose the best cases that would be of interest to potential investors. When I say investors, I mean entrepreneurs or institutional investors outside of Kyrgyzstan. Yeah. So we try first we identify the best cases that could be scaled, and then we help those companies to draft best materials, marketing materials. Although we're the government officials, but we advise them that they should work with consultants to draft good PPMs, financial models. Then we add them to our portfolio of companies, and we pitch them wherever possible, either during the business forums, or we go to dedicated visits to other countries, for instance, to the Middle East, and we propose and make the presentations during the road shows. This is concerning the the private sector to private sector transactions. But we are also responsible for government projects, large projects, in mining industry, in generation industry, in infrastructure projects, where we try to develop the documents from the scratch to the extent that we can. Then if we see a potential interest from other side, we refer to consultancy companies to help us with marketing materials and the pitching materials so that we can pitch them well to other countries. Once we see the interest from other institutional investors or entrepreneurs, we guide them and help them throughout the transaction by providing our advice, by providing our protection, by providing our time and efforts, trying to close the transaction or a deal so that whatever promising transaction that we're looking at, we put our hands on, turns out to be a successful closure. Let's put it in this way. Okay. And then the money flow into Kyrgyzstan. We see new plants, we see new factories, and we see the employment growth. And we deliver the right signal for our partners that it is high time that other companies start considering Kyrgyzstan as a platform for exporting their goods to neighboring countries in Central Asia as well as Russia and Kazakhstan.
You mentioned your several spheres and several industries, such as mining, but any other spheres and industries where potential foreign investors might be interested in?
I clearly see at least two industries that could be of great interest for anyone who wants to make decent return on their allocated capital. First one would be a processing of fruits and vegetables and livestock. Livestock is of great quality in Kyrgyzstan, but I think fruits and vegetables deserve special attention and emphasis, as most of the fruits and vegetables, they're wild. Right. All it takes is to take the organic certification, and you need to clean it, you need to wash it, you need to package it, then process it and start selling to mature markets. We are clearly seeing that the return of such investments into apricots and apples and walnuts, in strawberries, could be at least 5 to 10 times of initial investment that anyone would be interested in investing in Kyrgyzstan. Because in vertical integration, Kyrgyzstan has already passed the biggest and the hardest way is, I mean the supply of goods, supply of fruits and vegetables. All we need to put the right plant that can process it and market and sell it to other countries. And the second would be the tourism industry. We have beautiful wild places, and Kyrgyzstan enjoys 4 seasons. And during a very hot time in our neighboring countries or the MENA region, we could host a lot of people both on mountains and our Pearl Lysical Lake. And I think that deserves a different explanation, and that deserves a different presentation.
In nearly 30 years of independence of Kyrgyzstan, what is the main problem of raising our how they call it to attract the investments? Yes.
I think
is it unstable of the political situation or economic situation?
Aside of things that are outside of our control, such as political situation of Kyrgyzstan, I think we have done a very poor job in pitching ourselves. Because there are a lot of opportunities, there are a lot of great entrepreneurs, there's a lot of great land, there's a lot of supply of goods that could be pitched to other countries, but we were very bad in packaging those potential projects, both on private side and in the government side, and selling it to other governments. And this is where we'll be putting more emphasis on. We have made a very big and decent database of successful entrepreneurs that work in Kyrgyzstan and could scale their business outside of Kyrgyzstan, at least to Central Asia, but at the most case to neighboring countries, both in China or European Union, where we enjoy a GSP plus status that gives a lot of preferences to Kyrgyz entrepreneurs. And using that database, we are interviewing one by one the entrepreneurs so that we can pinpoint the best cases that we could pitch to other potential investors outside of Kyrgyzstan. So I think that there has been a very low information about opportunities associated with Kyrgyzstan, and that's what we are intending to change in future to come.
There is another thing about the green economy. Can you talk us through can you give us more information about green economy?
Last year in 2020, Kyrgyzstan finally ratified the Paris Agreement of, if I'm not wrong, of 2014, where all countries decided that they will put joint effort in decreasing the global climate change to at least 2 degrees on Celsius. To retain it from warming to up to 2 degrees of Celsius. And Kyrgyzstan could be of great interest for anyone that's interested in both mitigation and adaptation projects. And in this regard, we are talking and we're presenting our cases to the different funds, environment funds. So what we can say is Kyrgyzstan is a great place for both impact investment and for green investment. There are numerous opportunities, including electric vehicles, including transmission from coal to renewable energies, including the green mortgage, which is promising to be a great market for anyone that's interested in allocating at least from 100 million to up to maybe $2 billion without state guarantees.
That's what I was asking you about the last question. If you want to, you can say anything you wish to the investments, foreign investors who are watching us.
I truly believe Kyrgyzstan is a great place where you can allocate your capital and be assured that your capital will be safe and sound. This is a great place where you can spend your time with your kids and with your family as we enjoy 4 seasons. We have great places if you like skiing. We have great places if you like wakeboarding. We have great places if you want to go hiking in all 4 seasons throughout the year. And Kyrgyzstan enjoys a lot of organic fruits and vegetables, as well as livestock that could be of great interest and value to our neighboring countries. All we need is to wash them, package them, and sell them as everything grows wild. Then taxation is very liberal and it's very low compared to other Central Asian countries, including Kazakhstan and Russia. We have the cheapest wages, labor wages and labor rates. We have the cheapest rates for electricity, and we have the most liberal legislation on movement of capital. The capital can easily move in and out of country, and you can make your money and extract the dividends anytime you want. Establishing a company is a very simple procedure in Kyrgyzstan. If you want to learn more about opportunities associated with our country, we will be very pleased to tell you more. Please visit our webpage or directly call us at the contacts provided in our webpage. We will be always happy to see you and guide you all through all processes in investing to our country. Thank you.
Mr. Tamiraliyev, many thanks for taking part in our program. Let me remind you, in our studio we had Mr. Umbriel Tamiraliyev, Deputy Minister for Ministry of Investments, Promotion and Protection of the Kyrgyz Republic, and we talked about the prospects and works regarding investing and protection of the investments here in Kyrgyzstan. Have a good evening.